Hello, CP Pre-Calc. Today is our last day that we are going to be working with hyperbolas. So we're still with our hyperbola packet. So if you guys can turn to your hyperbola packet, we're going to take a look at it. And we're going to look at numbers. The last page, it has 12, 13, 14, and 15 on it. Okay, guys? And what we're going to be given today is just information. And we're going to have to use the information to help us write the equation of a hyperbola. Now, the most important things they are giving us in this number 12 is they're giving us the vertices are 0, -1, and 1, and the foci is 0, -3, and 0, 3. How does that help me? Now, guys, again, I like to do like a rough sketch just to think about it, okay? And if I think about my vertices and I think about my foci, okay? So I have my vertices, and I'll make my vertices green. So I have 0, -1. I can make it a little thicker. 0, -1, and I have 0, 1. Those are my two vertices. So I can say vertice 1 and vertice 2. Then I can say, okay, well, let me do my foci. My foci would be 0, -3, and 0, 3. So this would be foci 1 and foci 2. What I would know here is that I have a vertical transverse axis. If I have a vertical transverse axis, that tells me I have an up and down hyperbola. Now, if it was a horizontal transversal axis, then I would have a side to side. Now, how do I know it's an up and down and it's a vertical? The foci points and the vertices will always be on your transverse axis. So now if I look at this, I know I can say, well, wait a minute, my hyperbola would go up this way, open towards the focus, and this one open towards the focus. I would know that I would have that up and down hyperbola. So here we have that up and down hyperbola. We have to write the equation. Well, if it is an up and down hyperbola, we know that y goes first. It's y minus k squared over a squared equals, minus x minus h squared over b squared would equal 1. All right, so I know that's the case. Now, how do I find my center? My center will be the midpoint of both my vertices and my foci. So if I look right smack in the middle at what I graphed, I would see right there, that's my midpoint, right there. That would have to be my center. So my center would just be, let me just make it a little more accurate for you guys. My center would just be 0, 0. All right, and that's, how did I find that? It's the midpoint between my two vertices and my two foci. So now I know I have y squared minus 0. So up top here, I know I can say I have y squared, and in the bottom I have a squared. Well, actually, let's just leave it so I have space. So now I know hk is 0, 0. So now let's see, I need to know a and b. Well, if I think of a and b, A will be always the distance between my vertice and my center. So A will equal the distance between the vertice and the center. So if I look over here, my A would just be the distance both ways between the vertice and the center, because that segment that's highlighted in purple would be 2A. So if that's the case, I know I have A here and A here. Well, what's A equivalent to? A would be equivalent to 1. Now, I don't know B, but I have to figure out how to find B. Now, C is going to be the distance between the center and my foci. So that means if I looked at this, if it's the distance between from here to here is C, and from here to here is C. So if that's the case, A is the distance between your center and your vertices, and C is the distance between your center and your foci. So if I counted here, if I thought of that, C would just be equivalent to 3. I can use that C now to determine B. So I know that C squared is equivalent to A squared plus B squared. So let's put that in. I get 9 is equivalent to 1 squared, which is 1, plus B squared. So B squared would equal 8, and B would be the square root of 8, which simplifies to 2 root, well, actually, I don't even need to know B. I need to know B squared in my formula. This is what I need to know. So I don't have to go a step further. I know A is 1, and I know my center is 0, 0. So I now know my equation would be y minus 0 squared, so y squared over a squared. Well, a squared is just 1, minus x minus 0 squared, which is just x, over b squared, which is 8, and that would be equivalent to 1. So this here would be my standard form of that hyperbola. All right, guys? Now let's go with skip 13. That's one of your homework problems. So 13 is going to be one of the homework problems. Now let's take a look at 14. Now 14, they're giving me the center, one focus point, and one vertex. A little different. So let's take a look at that. That's, again, I like to graph just to give myself a visual. All right. So my center is HK. So that makes it a little easier. So I got 1, 2, 3. I need to... All right. So if I look at this center, I know my center, make it a little bigger, is 4, negative 2. Okay. That's my center. I know one of the, I'm going to put the focus in blue. One of the focus is what? 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, negative 2. And I know my vertice will be 6, negative 2. Now let's think about that. If that's my vertice will open towards my foci and away from my center. So I know, and also I know I have a horizontal transversal axis because the center, the vertice, and the vertex and a focus are all on a horizontal line. So that means I know I have a side to side. We now know we can say we have a side to side hyperbola. So what's the equation of that? If we have a side-to-side hyperbola, we have x minus h squared over a squared minus y. It doesn't look like a y. Y minus k squared over b squared is equivalent to 1. Well, we know h and k is 4 and negative 2. So that's easy. I know my h and k. Now I have to find my values. Well, if I know this is my center, so I have my center, I have a center, I have a vertex, and I have a focus. I have everything I need to know, even though I don't have the other side, which I could count over and draw the other side. Remember, the distance between the center and the vertex is A. So if I look at that, what is the distance between? Well, if I look at my vertex, is 6, negative 2, and my center is 4, negative 2. So that distance between A is equivalent to 2. On the same note, I know the distance between the center and the foci is C. So if I look at that, I know that's the distance of C. The blue would be C. The blue is C. I would know that C would be, if I look at that, 3. Okay. And once you find A and C, you can calculate B because we know C squared is equivalent to A squared plus B squared. So I know 9 equals 2 squared is 4 plus B squared, and B squared is equivalent to 5. I don't need to find B squared because B squared is what I wanted in my equation. So now I just plug everything in. I have x minus h. Well, h is the x value of my center. So x minus 4 quantity squared over a squared. Well, a is 2, so a squared is 4. Y minus k, which is y minus a negative 2, so it's y plus 2 squared over b squared, which we just found is 5, and that would be equivalent to 1. So this would be my equation in standard form. All right, guys, 15 is also going to be a homework problem. All right, guys. So if you have any questions, you only have 2 problems tonight for homework. It's not too much, an easy day. If you have any questions on today's assignment or any assignment this week, please stop by office hours and I will be happy to answer any of your questions. I hope to talk to you soon. And if I don't, have a great weekend. All right, bye, guys.